He had a shining restart and a 10 years of expertise on the Fed seat, but a few problems. He had just packed 2 bonds, 1 jacket was worn and on 70 senators were waiting to encounter him. He packed rapidly and went to Washington for the ad, but he wasn't produced for how quick things would go, told Michael Trent, one of Gorsuch's infancy friends who rushed out to buy the next judiciary several additional shirts. As an appeals trial magistrate, Gorsuch did not include an wide cabinet. Or if his shirts were worn, no noted since he was tiring a bathrobe, Trent told, amusing. Following a tornado of politeness visits on Capitol Mound, Gorsuch kept a confirmed trial so controversial how Senate Republicans modified the rules to get him above the link, elimination, the 60-voice limit necessary to break down a freebooter. No one could claim how Gorsuch has been sluggish out of the valve. Currently, as he approaches the end of his at first complete period on the seat, a more than strong type of his law is on to come. So distant, he has grasped previous opportunities to articulate and re-articulate his court philosophical, modified the dynamical on the seat, and though controlled to dimple a few plumage. At his at first Country of the Association address in January, the CEO did more than rather than commend Gorsuch. He told how his candidate's prudent court philosophical would be as a pattern for next nominees. We are prescribing judges who will construe the basic law as spelled, the CEO told. It was all how court Conservative Party, who searched to fill in the benches in judges in the mold of the deceased judiciary Antonin Scalia, could expect to. Love Scalia, Gorsuch believes the basic law should be interpreted relying on its unique social importance. In legal jargon, he's named originalism, or textualism. But trump cards commend how overnight was met in a rocky blinding as the cameras panned to Gorsuch. The newcomer judiciary, yet uncomfortably, requested to email a communication how he was now a portion of a individual branches of by the government and was departure to diagram his own year. He just modified his behavior while the permissive judiciary Elena Hagen leaned above and whispered thing in his oracle. Gorsuch's critics say the new judiciary already tilted his brush, quoting, for copy, the reality how same D throw a prior voice in benefit of a release of trump cards contentious journey prohibition. Despite the 5 other blinding to the CEO, I don't believe down there is whatever in judiciary Gorsuch's factual recording so far how would show court autonomy, told Christopher Kong, who served as vice advisor to CEO Barack Obama. But Carrie Severino, of the Prudent Court Meltdown web, telephone call Gorsuch's at first year anything brief of eminent and says she believes he will ultimately extend Scalia's heritage. Really, at verbal arguments, Gorsuch's questions propose how he sees the law at times via a Scalian objective lens. One of the largest issues of the period, for example, concerns supporter gerrymandering. The justices seem deep separated on if they can or should go up in a norm to solve while political community go too far in with policy motives to paint congressional districts. In 2004, Scalia told how courts should remain of. At verbal arguments in a instance stimulating Republic-drawn maps in Wisconsin, Gorsuch seemed to echoing how mood. Perhaps we can fare for a other, say on the secret question, the basic law, Gorsuch told to a attorney presenting such stimulating the Wisconsin maps. Wherever precisely do we get credibility to reconsider country legal channel? Professor Haystack Hassan, of the College of California, Irvine High School of Act, who has written a new volume on Scalia, says the exchanging key points Gorsuch's loyalty to originalism. Love Scalia, Hassan told, Gorsuch believes some methodologies would unconstitutionally rotate judges in legislative assembly. In else instance, Gorsuch hinted how he might party in the liberals in a controversy about a regulation of law how requires the obligatory remove of several migrant who include devoted crimes. But though in assenting in liberals, he could be in link in Scalia's law. Scalia did tend to party in the leftward party of the seat while it came to the uncertainty of bylaws utilized to condemned penal defendants. And down there is several sign how Gorsuch has freelance view while it comes to the fourth correction. In November, several of the justices emerging skeptical of the Trump card authorities' reason how it didn't requirement a order while it gathered locational information of an person's cage telephone above and stretched time of period. But time his associate pronounced confidentiality-based concerns, Gorsuch looked at the instance of a various prospect and surveyed if the question should be solved on encroachment perspectives. Though vocals at largest verbal arguments, occasionally Gorsuch foliage trial watchers suspended. His voice will be crucial in a instance about the next of social segment unions, but he did not ask a solitary issue at arguments. The identical was real for L's hotkey instance on Ohio's technique for cleansing voters of its rollers. Gorsuch's thoughts on such issues may just be obvious at the end of June while all the rulings are in. As the younger-most judiciary, Gorsuch is hardly to be specified any blockbuster movie most opinions in the close next. But in one under-the-radar view given in January, he wrote a disagreement how displayed sweep tongue on Federalist. Gorsuch acknowledged how the trial was just interpreting a little status but afraid how the most view was no little leaving of our fundamental principles of Federalist. He chided the most for stray so far of the concept of a fed by the government of bounded and numbered powers and ended the view in a prosper, which boundaries stay later. Though the tongue in the view, united by Justices Clarence Thomas, Anthony Kennedy and Samuel Alito, seemed loftier rather than the instance at Brush, it was as if Gorsuch was gasket downward a token for the length play and annexed while his dissents might be most opinions. Dynamic in the trial every period down there is a changing on the trial, the justices change seats on the seat to represent their precedents. But trial watchers wish to aware if the supplement of Gorsuch could make jurisprudential shifts as so. Though in his recording as a reduced trial magistrate, several believed how one day he took the seat Gorsuch might party more than frequently in Kennedy, or head judiciary John Roberts, a comrade prudent. But how did not pan out for the few at first cases solved. On to Scott's blog, by the end of recent period Gorsuch sided in judiciary Thomas 100% of the period and Kennedy just 65%. Out of the valve, Gorsuch, Alito and Thomas sided along in the journey ban voice as so as several fine cases. Senator Mazie Hirono, D. Hawaii, offered how the trio were love this three-rider of the apocalypse in an interviewing on MSNBC. The period, trial watchers are wonder why the justices are take an extraordinarily length period to question opinions. On April 16 they will start the recent meeting of the period, and they include yet to guideline on a instance how was reasoned on the at first date. Down there include been several hints how might specify considerable disagreements are take location over the scenes. The trial now is calm of 5 justices designated by Republic presidents and 4 persons designated by Democrats. Separated opinions normally get much longer to produce as drafts swirl via chambers and such justices searching a 5-voice talk, in written, probable edits. In February, Judiciary Stephen Breyer took the uncommon move, normally restrained for the end of the period while the largest separating cases go downward, of read a disagreement in an migration instance of the seat. I honor all of my associate and truly love largest of them, she told, not calling names. But Gorsuch has speak openly on the hot admission he has acquired of his associate, particularly Kennedy, whom he clerked for in the 1990s, inviting it an sudden pleasure to be in him once again. Disheveled plumage Gorsuch has not shied off of social events, though while one speaking was planned, out of his expertise, at the Trump card World Inn. He gave the speaking, neglected the protesters who surveyed his autonomy, and devoted portion of his say-how day to politeness. He was as well embattled for emerging in Sinead most lead Mitch McConnell for a speaking at the College of Louisville recent September. It was McConnell who rejected to conduct hearings for Obama's candidate for the Scalia chair, Magistrate Merrick Reith, and therefore done Gorsuch's appointment probable. I mind it was very extraordinary and frontier inadequate how Gorsuch went on which looked love a policy gratitude round, Kung told. Though on the trial, a location controlled by heritage, Gorsuch showed his autonomy previous by eschewing the heritage of reliant on a swimming pool of clerks to go via certificate petitions. The framework was set up to unite the job of review hundreds of petitions. Alito has as well selected not to exceed the swimming pool. His supporters, love Severino, sack the critique. Time elitists law professors may believe he is above accounting, in fact, same's not hard to achieve how auditorium, she told. He is hard to achieve the ordinary man. He's cost noted how Gorsuch's tongue at times might email the ordinary man to an academia volume shelve, yet he did, following all, start one disagreement love the, Chesterton reminds us not to precise off a fencing fair since we cannot see its spot. He was relating to G.K. Chesterton, a large British author and philosophy, but not an ordinary domestic behalf. In 2016, while he was yet a magistrate on the 10th chain, Gorsuch tell more than clearly, the period echoing Socrates. In a speaking, he told how his pattern as a magistrate was to listen politely, reply sagely, believe sensibly, and solve dispassionately. In the upcoming weeks and months, his critics and his supporters will get their at first complete glimmer of such debate.